later she died. And so I spent a lot of time with my neighbors. Many of them were Jamaicans. I went home because I had a lot of beer and I just wanted to chill for a little bit. And these crazy fucking cops with machine guns, I swear to God they were like on meth or like all pumped up, are jumping out of trees. Because if you know Madison, you have the grey building, the big grey building, then you have that cement thing, you have the trees, Cameron Heights is behind here, and then you have the draw. So they were coming from behind Cameron Heights, dropping out of the trees, on the ground now, motherfuckers, on the ground, on the ground. So of course I'm there taking pictures from across the street, but like, this was like an average day. Well, not an average day, but this was something that was very common. And so we started organizing on two fronts. The first thing was never let the Nazis have the streets. Our analysis was like the Nazis were very similar to the paramilitaries in other countries. In other words, if a cop can't deal with someone, they'll just give the names to the Nazis. And there was a lot of collusions between cops and Nazis. Our other front of work was Cop Watch. And what Cop Watch was, is we'd have 5 of us. One of us would have a camera, one of us would have a protest sign. Sometimes the stick would be made out of steel, and you know, it's a protest sign. One of us would write stuff, and one of us would be the one who would like confront the cops. And our idea was to get the cops away from the person so they'd come after us, and so the person would get away. Needless to say, that did not make us friends with the cops. We realized that what we really needed was a space where we can organize, and if the downtown business community and the street youth cannot get along, the people on the street need a place of their own where they can organize, discuss the problems that they're having, and come up with solutions. So we started having tent cities in front of City Hall, in front of different places of power, and pushing the idea that we need our own space. Eventually we raised $10,000 and we created the Spot, which was the first youth-run youth drop-in center. The first thing we did was social investigation. We would get people together, we would talk about the problems people would have, such as people getting kicked off of welfare because they didn't know what their rights were, landlords kicking people out, all that sort of stuff. And we realized from our own experience that power concedes nothing without demand. And if we want to get something done, we got to get something done. So what if someone got kicked off of welfare, we take 20 people, take over the welfare office, refuse to leave until they would cut them a check. If a landlord was illegally trying to evict someone, we wouldn't bother going through the whole court procedure. We just take the place over and physically have a standoff with the landlord. We believed we would also have a literacy program because a lot of people were illiterate. And we would also have political programs. What do I mean by political programs? We would teach people alternatives. We would study the Black Panther Party. We would study AIM. We would study other things, and we would arrange trips to Cuba. We would arrange trips to Venezuela so people could see that other alternatives were possible. We also tried to show people that the capitalism and the tax that we're facing here is part of a broader attack, which is why we made links with the Irish, why we made links with the Palestinians, why we made links with the FARC. One of our big victories was that we were able to get ultrasound machines to the West Bank and Gaza with the help of the WPIRG, my sister, and a bunch of other people. Because at the end of the day, we are the people, they are the pigs. You know, like, we suffer because they have the money and they have the power. In terms of drugs, at that point in time, ecstasy was a thing. And a lot of other poisons would show up in ecstasy tablets. We'd be having overheating from methamphetamine. People would want to save money, so they put like large quantities of meth in pills. And so what we would do is we would confront these dealers. First we would talk to them, then we would give them a warning, and then after the warning, you know, we would take action, because they're petty capitalists that are killing their own people. And we also realize that no one wakes up and says, I want to be a junkie. No one wakes up and says, I want to be a drug addict. People who take drugs because there's something that's missing. You know, there's a hole in them. That hole might come from abuse. That hole might come from physical pain. That hole might come from the pain in the system. Our alternative was to give people something to believe in, something to fight for, something better, to let people know that they are better, that they don't need to numb their consciousness. At the same time, we recognize that the drug problem is a lot more complicated than that. And we have the 32 CSM, which is the political front of the real IRA. We have a document out there on our position on drugs. We believe that the criminalizing drugs is not going to solve the problem. We believe in the Portuguese model. We believe that the drug problem is a health problem. Anyways, the point is we eventually started organizing the street kid, and the Nazis would present themselves as another gang, right? So you'd have the Spanish gangs, you'd have this, and then you'd have the white gangs. And we proved that that was not true. And once we built our drop-in center, Nazis started attacking our drop-in centers. So we created a weapons drawer. And now, like, the way the police presented it is, we just love to fight and beat each other up and whatever. Well, we never hurt each other in the weapons drawer. Everyone knew where the weapons drawer was, everyone knew what its purpose was, and that sort of thing. So one day, the Nazis decided to come and attack us. We found this out, so we took jalapeno peppers, we boiled them, we put them in like bottles, as well as super soakers, and we had the advantage because our drop-in center was on the second floor, so you had to climb up the stairs. So there were about 30 of them that attacked us. We started throwing the jalapeno, and trust me, that's just like pepper spray. It burns. And then we started chasing them with our sticks and our machetes and whatever. And then all the kids downtown that saw that we were defending them, that saw that we were creating free food programs, tent cities, whatever, they all joined us because they saw that these fucking Nazis are like cops. And this is where the Nazis actually abandoned the streets. There were about And I shit you not, there's a book that I stole from the library. I think he has it. But anyways, it talks about it in the book. Basically, there were about 120 of us, 20 Nazis, 50 cops, and the cops had to take the Nazis away. Like, basically, like, the cops were defending the Nazis and taking the Nazis out of the crowd, even though they were the ones that attacked us. And that proved to, like, the downtown community that no, they weren't a gang. They were the fucking paramilitary of the cops, and the only way they could get shit done was by the cops. So, who knows what Food Not Bombs is? Right now, Food Not Bombs is a fucking liberal organization. And like, no, and this is why I say it's a liberal organization. When Food Not Bombs started in the 90s, City Hall was where like all the people used to hang out. And they were serving food on campus. We went to them and we're like, listen, we're going to serve food downtown. You can join us or you can fuck off. And of course they joined us. And the owner of Williams really tried to stop us. Like, they would come and physically push us. At one point in time, this homeless guy went to feed himself, and the cops grabbed his arm and said, "We're going to arrest you." Many of us were arrested for fighting to serve food in front of City Hall under Williams. And that was like a principled thing for us. 2 weeks ago, I walked by Food Not Bombs and people